Health is more than the absence of illness. It reflects how we live, the choices we make, and what we truly value. In this conversation, authors Rachna Chhachhi, Mihir Patki, Ankush Datar, and Trisha Bora, Senior Commissioning Editor at HarperCollins India, delve into the complexities of well being.
Hi everyone, I'm Trisha. I'm a senior commissioning editor at HarperCollins. Firstly, a very happy World Book Day to everyone. For our session today, we have three brilliant writers. We have Dr. Rachna Chhachhi, Ankush Datar, and Mihir Patki. Firstly, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to, be a part of this chat. So let me introduce you guys to each other. Rachna has recently published this groundbreaking book called Healing Autoimmune Conditions. It's probably the first book in India to talk about autoimmune conditions. And we have Ankush and Mihir who've written this astounding book on the connections between health and wealth. So I'm going to now talk about your books. So tell me about the reason for writing it, what makes it special. Rachna, I know your story, and the book is especially personal given that you overcame a very challenging, some would say even an impossible to cure condition. So why don't we start with your story and tell us why you wrote the book and why it's important?
Thank you, Trisha, for the lovely introduction and setting the context. I would just like to say every day should be World Book Day. We are losing touch with reading, especially the next generation. Um, my story is starts in 2006. So 19 years ago, I was diagnosed with an incurable condition as per medical science called rheumatoid arthritis. It's an autoimmune condition and there is no cure. Even rheumatologists stand up and say that, but they give you drugs to manage the condition, which can cause multiple organ failure and increase your risk of cancer. I believed I could get better with the drugs for about a year till the time I had a really bad relapse where the drugs were not working and my hands, my wrists, my knees, ankles, and one elbow clinically started showing damage in the scans, which is irreversible. So I stopped believing in medical science at that point in time and thought I have to find my own way. There was an incident which is also there in my book. I was in a lot of pain and I was injected with 13 injections in the span of an hour, which became my turning point. My screams were so loud that, my daughter and my husband, who were at the reception area, could hear me yelling, but the doctor and nurse were relentlessly just poking the needle in the bone. And I came home. I was quiet for 3 days. I passed out. I feel I passed out. It's a blur. I'm told that I got up and I went to the bathroom and I did some normal activities, but I have no recollection. Finally, when I came around, I just limped to the living room, uh, saw these two lovely people, my daughter, who was 8 at that time, and went to the kitchen medicine cabinet, snatched the medicines, and went to the bathroom and flushed them down. That was my starting point. That's what gave me the strength that there is no looking back. And then I found my path in just 8 months to heal my condition.
And that's amazing. And that's what Rachna writes about. But we'll get back to that because, it's a very interesting program. Now, on to Ankush and Mihir. What a
Oh,
fascinating book you guys have written. I just want to talk. I like the fact that you guys first met on Twitter,
yeah,
now called X,
yes, yeah,
right? And then you talk a lot about serendipity and how it kind of led to the creation of this book. And perhaps you could tell the readers a bit about that story because I really like it. And then you can also tell us what you mean by first principles thinking so
yeah,
we can get a bit into the book.
yeah. So
Ankush, you want
maybe
to tell the story?
yeah, maybe I'll cover and Mihir can cover the second part of the question. So the idea of how this book came about was actually serendipitous, as we've written about. So I've been, apart from being an investment professional, just like Mihir is, I was also am an active writer of blogs for fitness, health, psychology, investing, and what I started to observe with my own personal life, uh, following the investment profession, advising clients, understanding this entire journey, is that there are a lot of parallels in the way we think about how we approach fitness in terms of simplicity, in terms of compounding, delaying gratification. These basic principles are exactly the same when we apply it in our investment journey, right? Through the process, I started documenting a lot through blogs and trying to build the parallels and how you can learn the discipline of compounding, delaying gratification from fitness, try to apply it to investing, apply it for very long periods of time. We've heard a lot of this, but we've seen very little application and the combining of the two. And very coincidentally, I was on Twitter and I saw this tweet by Mihir where he was running his startup at the time. And the name of the workshop which he was conducting at the time for a startup was the parallels between nutrition and investing. So I thought, hey, there's someone else who's talking about very similar things as me. And I had written a lot of blogs as I had explained to you before, right? And I said, let me join this workshop and webinar, see what he's talking about, right? His workshop was basically about how asset allocation, when creating an investment plan, is similar to the mental models you use to create a nutrition plan, which is something that, I mean, it was something that I also think of. I think of in the very similar way that he explained it. So I said, why not do one thing? I'll just comment on the link which he posted, saying, "Hey, I've written this article, and I write these articles on long-term investing and fitness. Do give it a read." He just read it, and we happened to kind of connect over Twitter. And we were actually connected over a 1 year period. We became Twitter friends, as you call it. For users of Twitter who would be knowing this, there's a thing called Twitter friends and real friends. So we were Twitter friends for close to about 1 year till we actually happened to meet through a very common friend of ours when the equity markets were doing very well at the time. And one of my friends who lives in my building, who happens to live on the second floor, he just called me on one of the days and said, there's this market expert who's come to kind of talk about investing, etc. I said, okay, let me see who this person is. And I go down, it's Mihir. And Mihir had mentioned to my friend Abhijit at the time that, yeah, you're connected with Ankush, etc. So, oh, he lives in my building. I came down, I met him. That's when we went from Twitter friends to real friends. And
And
then
from there to co-authors. Yeah.
and then very randomly, Mihir messaged me maybe about 1.5, 2 months into knowing each other. He said, would you be open to the idea of writing a book on health and wealth? And I thought about this for 2 minutes. I said, let me say yes. What's the harm? I said yes. We met, and when both of us met, uh, the index, if you happen to see the index, it just was created in that one meeting. We decided the entire book within that one meeting with our various experiences. And that's how it basically came to be through our own experiences, reading, and life journeys. Uh, I think Twitter was just the medium, serendipity happened, and we were meant to meet. And then, of course, the book was formed, and then maybe Mihir can take up the first principles question.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so like Ankush mentioned, we've both been investment professionals, and I came into practicing let me say, practicing good health after a negative episode, as is what happens to most of us. So I used to weigh about 18 kilos more than I weigh right now. Had everything, high cholesterol, hypertension, fatty liver, the works, like just about everything. That was when I started reading very deeply, researching a lot. Came across this community called Fitter. There's a gentleman called JC Jitendra Chokshi from whom I've learned everything about nutrition. Created a diet plan for myself, followed it for a year. My entire family followed it, and the results were just magical. So I lost 18 kilos. All of my medications were completely discontinued. Uh, in this process, I felt that whatever I was doing for my investment portfolio, I actually didn't do anything different for becoming healthy. So on the investing side, I would allocate my assets amongst debt, equity, gold. On the health side, I would just allocate my calories between carb, protein, fat, and just create a plan and follow it for a long, long time without deviating from it. That's all there is to it. Then I figured that there are a lot of parallels in between these two arenas. Most importantly, our education system does not teach us two core life skills. One is personal finance, the other is nutrition. And there's literally no school in the world which will teach you these things. And the minute you step out in the real world, these are the only two things that you need. So I think about my daughter's future a lot. So she's 10 now. And whatever she wants to become in life, she'll be able to become. Fortunately, we can provide the resources. But yet, she will not learn about these two key things. So that was also the motivation behind writing the book, that let these ideas be passed on to a wider audience, maybe to the next generation and the generation after that. Uh, Also, both these faculties are really timeless and they're required for all of us. So, from my 10-year-old daughter to Ankush, 64-year-old dad, both of them follow these principles, and health and wealth is important for both of them. So, that was how
Absolutely.
we thought about the book.
Yeah, but when you're put posited with health and wealth, today you feel like you have to choose one, right? That's why I find
Yeah,
this interesting. Because if you want to create wealth, you're spending all your time creating wealth and you don't find enough time to focus on your health, right? The interesting thing that the three of y'all have in common is that y'all did come to these realizations by yourself. Rachna's also kind of like gone against modern traditional advice in a way. She did her own research. You did your own research to come to, your conclusions. I'll just switch back to Rachna for a bit because, I think a lot of us don't understand what autoimmune conditions are and the fact that they're rising, they're increasing, right? Because of the kind of lifestyles we lead. And Rachna, can you tell us what it means? What is an autoimmune condition, and what is your program about? How can it help people? Why is it that modern medicine doesn't have a cure for it?
Thank you, Trisha. I'd just like to comment on what Mihir said first. As a nutrition expert, when you put yourself at the core and say, "I will heal myself," and then you build your life, your work around it, the wealth comes. Because if your mind and body are healed, are healthy, you have energy, you have mental and physical agility, that's when you're able to give to your work your optimum. So creating wealth is,
yeah,
I totally agree with Ankush and Mihir, is all about look after yourself, and then the money will come. That's what they're talking about. Coming back to autoimmune conditions are conditions, and there are, now 100 plus, and people are still discovering. There, some of them are called silent illnesses, uh, where the immune system attacks your own body. So in every autoimmune condition, there is a body part that the immune system attacks. For example, in rheumatoid arthritis, it is the synovial joints that are attacked, and then slowly it spreads to the bigger joints. In multiple sclerosis, it is the spine. Uh, Similarly, in ankylosing spondylitis. So there is no cure simply because the symptoms are very myriad. If you look at anyone with an autoimmune condition, they come with pain, chronic fatigue, brain fog, listlessness, low energy. How do you treat those symptoms? So, modern science is reactive. It's amazing to save lives. in an accident, in any other scenario. But what can be avoided is when we start looking after our own immune system so that it cares for us versus attacking us. And that conflict is inside us. So every autoimmune warrior that I have treated in the last 16 years has had that state of conflict with self, the overthinking, the stressful thoughts, many of them with childhood trauma, with other kinds of stress, which finally end up triggering the disease. What doctors do is try to manage that by suppressing the immune system. Why my methodology works is because it first goes deep down to repair the immune system by the mind body connect. Modern science does not do a mind body connect. So I work on the mind and the body and start healing them together, and that's how the 6 step process came about. I think the universe had my back when I was healing myself, because everything that I have written in the book, which I did with myself, later on I realized when I did my research and I restudied. It's very difficult to restudy when your child is also studying in class 7 for their exams. But uh, it came back to everything being proven on whatever I did. The power of the breath, the power of the mind, the simple nutrition and steps that you take. People eat generally healthy food. You've got to be in a generally healthy state to eat that food to maintain that homeostasis. But you've got to eat differently, live differently, exercise differently when you want to reach that stage. So the 6 steps will help you reach that stage so that you are healthy and you can maintain the homeostasis. Also, just like Mihir lost the 18 kilos, and if he was to go back to his previous lifestyle, he would gain it back. Similarly, with any other condition that I treat, including autoimmune conditions, there is a new normal that you shift to. So it's been 17 years for me. You are seeing, I travel the world, I do everything. I managed to find those simple foods that keep me healed because my priority is that the doctors tell me that you are not supposed to walk. You are supposed to be bedridden as per my scans. But I am walking, I'm living a very high quality of life. And the reason is these 6 steps. And if I can live like this, why can't other autoimmune warriors? And that's what drove me to write the book.
I find it very interesting, Rachna, that you talk about this, that there are certain people who are more kind of prone to autoimmune if you're an overthinker, anxiety and things like that. And women, right? Women are also kind of more prone to it. And especially in today's world where our stressors are so relentless,
That's
I
true.
think this book has a lot for people, even if you're interested in wellness and generally improving your life. So yeah, you were saying something?
I just like to add that every autoimmune warrior that I have treated, and even the ones that I run a community as well. We have an NGO, we run a foundation. So we have the autoimmune community where we have 150 warriors. And every warrior has a heightened sense of emotional intelligence. So they are very empathetic, they are good people. But what comes with good people is that you put others first. You forget that you have to take care of yourself.
Very interesting take. Thank you, Rachna. Now back to Ankush and Mihir. So I want to ask you to tell us a bit about the principles. Every chapter in your book is kind of like a rule or a takeaway. Can you talk to us about some of the really simple classic rules that everyone can apply right away after
Yeah,
watching this, maybe?
yeah,
Something that helps in creating wealth and also being healthy. What are the
yeah,
parallels? What are the simple rules?
yeah. So before I answer that, let me give a disclaimer. The answer is going to be very boring. There's no silver bullet. There's no magic wand. If at all there is some magic, it's two things. One is allocation. The second is discipline. Right? So what happens is we generally tend to chase results. We don't chase process, but we need to understand that the results are a byproduct of the process. So, for example, if you are on your wealth creation journey, you allocate your assets amongst debt, equity, gold, right? This is a function of why you are creating wealth for. Like you would be creating for a particular goal, right? That goal could be your retirement, it could be your child's education, or it could be something as materialistic as a car or a foreign holiday, right? So how far out is your goal? How would you be affected if that goal is not met? Where is the market currently at? It's not just how much of a risk taker you are, but is the market in a state where you can take that kind of risk? So triangulating all these factors, you come across your debt equity gold allocation. After that, all you keep doing is with the market movement, the debt equity gold allocations will move. Periodically, you keep coming back to your decided or the newly generated allocation. So naturally, what happens is you end up buying low, selling high over a very, very long period. I'm not talking days, weeks, months, maybe not even years. I'm talking maybe decades or half decades, right? On the health side, similarly, just to make it very simple, you could look at two metrics. One is BMR, the other is TE. So BMR is your basal metabolic rate, and that's the minimum number of calories that your body requires just to sustain itself and not let immunity affect you. And TE is the number of calories that you expend. So the goal is to, if you are trying to lose weight and you are not just trying to lose weight by losing muscle, but by say losing fat and being healthy overall, you will need to create a calorie deficit. So you need to eat above your BMR but below your TE. That's the simple mathematical equation. Now everything that you eat, at least I put in an Excel sheet, and people say I don't have a life and I'm boring, but I'm literally the opposite of that. So I put everything in an Excel sheet, calculate what's the carb, protein, fat allocation, and I eat about 1900 to 2000 calories a day as per my formula, and X% of it comes from carb, X from protein, X from fat. If something doesn't fit in that Excel sheet, I don't eat it, right? And I can, like it, I tend to cook for myself, so I can tailor any recipe to fit any formula on Excel. And all this sounds very difficult, but it's really not. So the really quick things that you can do is we are prone to eating a lot of calories and invisible calories. Like, you're on a work call, you are snacking on the side, you go out with your friends, you are consuming liquid calories, alcohol is one, even mocktails loaded with sugar. We tend to, use very vague language that khane mein tel kam dalna, but that kam aur zyada is a very, very relative term, right? So in my house, it's always instructed that if there are four people, there can't be more than 2 teaspoons oil in the food, right? You don't put oil from the bottle into the pan. It goes from the bottle into a spoon into the pan, right? So these are some very, very simple things to do. Reading labels of what you are eating just to know how many calories you are consuming. So you can be rigid and say that I don't want to eat this at all. Or at least you can be mindful enough to say that, okay, my calorie budget was 2000. I have consumed 2500 today, but I'm aware of it. I'll ensure that it does not happen again, or at least it does not happen more than once a week. Right? So just being mindful of these things can take you
So
a
are
long
you
way.
saying, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you, but are you saying that the first step is to track things, whether it's your
Exactly.
investments or your nutrition?
Exactly.
Your is it vigilant tracking, or it depends on your goals? What would you tell readers?
Yeah, I think you do what is sustainable for you. You don't want to be an Excel nerd like me, track everything for a week, and on the eighth day you figure that this is too tedious for me. So you just do whatever way works for you. So if you like, let me give you a very simple example. It's very easy to say, hey, my credit card bills are running really high. So how do you bring them down? You start reading those statements, right? You start marking, okay, this could have been avoided. This was a necessity. That's exactly what you do with your food allocation as well.
And
All
once
right, and
you figure out
Ankush,
this
would you like
plan,
to give us another pointer? Sorry,
yeah,
I got you.
carrying on to what Mihir is saying, Once I've figured out what my allocation is, what my goal is, what I want to achieve in the next 5, 10 years in terms of my wealth creation journey, and what I want to achieve in terms of my health goals, in terms of creating my nutrition plan. Now, this process allows me to avoid information overload, which we live in. So, for example, we are a lot on Instagram. Anyone watching an Instagram reel saying, you should have done this diet, you would have basically lost 25 kilos in 6 months, right? But if someone who went back to the basics of calorie allocation and as to why and how that happens, they would not be baited by the sensationalist claim. Or if someone puts on a news channel saying, buy this stock is going to go up 1,000% in the next 1 year, 2 year. Everyone wants those quick fix results. The people who get baited into these quick fix results are the ones who have not defined a plan and who've not created a plan. So once you kind of figure out your financial goals and your health goals, you're able to navigate through all of these issues, right? And another step away from just creating a plan, uh, the process of actually creating wealth and the process of being fitter or making significant process in the gym, or maybe maybe you want to run a marathon, is showing up every day. And how compounding works is that you kind of be consistent at something over a 4 year, 5 year, 6 year, 7 year period. For the first 1, 2, 3 years, you will feel like the results are not that significant. But if you continue over a process over a 5, 7 year period, you'll see that things are working out, right? But very few people are actually able to reach that kind of a time frame in terms of following a fitness plan, in terms of following a nutrition or wealth creation plan. But the magic actually starts to happen after the 5th year, the 6th year, the 7th year. So the reason why so many people fail at their plan is that if everyone wants the quick fix results, right, you're going to keep flipping between a different kind of diet, a different kind of investing plan, a different kind of exercise plan, hoping that in the next 2 years you will achieve the result that you want. But there is no sustainability. You've achieved the result, you come back to square one, you try to kind of achieve another result. But
No, then you change your nutritionist and financial advisor searching for magic, which never comes your way.
exactly. And
So can
just
we say that? Sorry, please continue.
also to slightly kind of touch upon what Dr. Rachna also said, I think also since because we're not taught personal finance, we're not taught nutrition, right? A lot of people are basically what financially and we're kind of illiterate, even though a lot of my colleagues, right, a lot of the people I know will be highly qualified from prestigious institutes. But if I tell them that a basic ketchup has 5 calories or 10 calories, everyone is like amazed. Wow. So the next step for our next generation, I think there's this saying by Dr. Peter Attia also, we've moved from medicine 2.0 to medicine 3.0. Just like in finance, also, we have to move from finance 2.0 to finance 3.0, which means that as a patient or as, for example, someone who wants to build wealth, right? It does not mean that I've created this plan and now, okay, I don't need a nutritionist or I don't need an advisor, right? But knowing my basics beforehand will allow me to adhere to the plan that they are giving me in a much more disciplined way. For example, if I knew that I'm coming to Dr. Rachana and I know that these certain symptoms like anxiety, stress are what's causing me, then I'm able to build much more trust with the person and I'm able to kind of build a much better relationship to follow the plan. So even once we learn all these things, right, and then we kind of engage with a nutritionist advisor in the case of our book or a fitness trainer, if we are a little literate, then it also allows us to work better with that professional.
Yeah, and I like your book because it doesn't fearmonger. It is also I mean, what I took away from it is keep it classic in a way, tailor it, both these elements to your situation. Classic works and persistence works, right? That's what we are saying essentially. There's also like the book has some really great stories about how financial wisdom has been passed on from ancient times. Would you like to talk a little bit about it? And essentially, it's been the same, right? What all these people are saying, philosophers, sages, etc. Chanakya, you talk about. So essentially, it's a classic advice, right?
Moving away from the philosophy and the ancient wisdom, so there is something which I'll touch upon briefly over a minute, and then Mihir can maybe talk about his grandparents, what the wisdom that he's gotten from his grandparents. So we hear a lot about compounding, right? You'd be putting on LinkedIn or Instagram, hearing about the power of compounding over 20 years, 30 years, if you invest today, your money would have been 20 crore, 30 crore. No one does it, right? It's just, but these numbers kind of are come out into the open because social media has given more access. But going all the way back to the Mahabharata times, since that time, uh, the sages and the philosophers, they were actually talking about the principles of compounding. When you put money or when you plant a seed, how a tree blooms, a tree has multiple fruits that it bears. The fruits are able to kind of provide for the entire community. Similarly, what are you doing with investing and kind of creating wealth? You're building enough money, you're building enough of a corpus by being consistent, watering the plant, ensuring that the plant grows into a tree, right? And that's the essentially the same thing that you're doing. You're using it with money, and you're using the money to provide for yourself and provide for the people around you, right? So they have also been talking about wealth in this specific way. And apart from the philosophy, just looking at our grandparents, maybe Mihir can
Yeah.
talk about, he
Yeah. Yeah.
articulated his grandparents' story.
No,
And
so you just look back at people 2 or 3 generations prior to us, right? They never took the elevators. They always used the stairs. They never took an Uber or a private car. They would walk or they would take public transport, right? But look at us. I mean, while I'm on this call, I can order food. It will come to me in 10 minutes. I'll finish it in 10 minutes. And then I'll realize I have exceeded my calorie allocation by about 500, 600 calories. So our incomes are increasing, our propensity to spend is increasing, our propensity to take on debt and spend that is also increasing. And all of this is causing a disbalance. But if you look at the lifestyle of, say, my grandparents or my great grandparents, you would find all the lessons in health and wealth embedded in their lives because lives were simple back then. Right? If you look at some of the traditions that history tells us, you look at any faith, every faith will have a period of fasting. Like Maharashtrians will do something like Sola Somvar, Muslims will do Ramzan, Christians will follow Lent, the Jains don't eat after sunset. And we say that all of these are rooted in religion. But if you look at this is nothing but intermittent fasting. It's controlling your calories. And everybody has been doing that. So when you tell people you consume less calories, it sounds boring. But when you package it or gift wrap it with something else, it achieves the same result. But in a sense, it's the same thing. If you look at traditional food, like in Maharashtrians, we eat varan, bhat, and toop, which is nothing but varan is just the simplest of dals, rice is just rice, and toop is ghee. So it's a perfect blend of carb, protein, fat. The problem is that we have as much soup, which is as much ghee as we should be having dal. So we distort the proportions. Look at idli vada sambar. Idli is carbs, sambar is protein, the chutney is a coconut, which is fat. So all of our traditional foods, or biryani is like rice is carbs and the meat is protein. So all of our foods have maybe been designed by our ancestors in a particular way. It's us, or maybe this generation, who has distorted the proportions. So there's a lot of wisdom lying in our traditions as well.
And I'll just connect that with Rachna because Rachna talks a lot about nuance when it comes to diet for autoimmune people with autoimmune conditions. And one of the things that I found really interesting is that she says there is a new baseline now, right? If you have this condition. And so she talks about what to eat, right? And it just goes back to simplicity. And her first thing is elimination. Rachna, can you talk a little bit about this, about how elimination works for autoimmune conditions?
Sure. Trisha, I don't know if this is a happy coincidence or intentional, but I come from consumer finance, and that's when I got my disease. I was vice president business development for GE Money, and Six Sigma certified. So I had a collapse at that point in time, and exactly what Mihir and Ankush are talking about. The process of Six Sigma is what I finally used, and which has treated thousands of autoimmune patients successfully across 27 countries. So when you look at that process, you rightly said it's very simple. The foods that will harm you are out, and that's a very straightforward thing for autoimmune. The foods that will harm you are also some of the healthy foods, which are given in the book. For example, lemon, tomato, lentils. Why? Because they are acidic. At the first stage of the 6 steps, you've got to eliminate everything that's going to harm you. What comes with that is that when you have chronic fatigue, you have to first calm the body and mind. Now, that starts with the body, that starts with the breath. So, we look at nutrition in a very unidimensional manner. Nutrition is what you eat, nutrition is the thoughts you put in your mind, nutrition is the activity that you do, because everything is going inside you. All that is healing you. The best nutrient in the world is water. We are 70% water. When there is pain and you have a glass of water, your pain gets dissipated, your circulation increases, and your brain cells get hydrated. So that kind of nutrition, which is a combination of doing eating what will heal you, which means it'll calm and repair your gut, it'll calm down your inflammation levels, it'll calm down your anxiety. Food is linked to mental health. So when you have the right kind of food, you are starting to calm down the anxiety that you've been carrying for decades, maybe. A lot of people say, oh, we've started eating healthy. And I'm like, stop. This is a cup. You've been holding this cup for 10 years. All you've done is put the cup down. What about the damage to the arm? So you've not gone deep inside to say, okay, I will first repair and then eat healthy. That's why elimination is very, very important in this step. And every warrior who has followed it has healed. Why it works is because we have two, three things here. One is people have a gene, an autoimmune gene. I have an RA gene. My mom had RA. Her grandmother had RA. With my healing, which is epigenetic healing, you switch the gene off. You make it dormant. You don't change it, but you make it dormant. Genes are 10 to 30% of the backdrop of diseases that we get. That is your genetic predisposition. Your epigenetics is how you can switch it on or off through your lifestyle modifications. So, if you give the specific inputs through nutrigenomics, through your breath, through the kind of exercise that calms down the inflammation levels and antibodies. And when I did my PhD, my research was also on doing alternate nostril breathing with rheumatoid arthritis patients and clinically recording their inflammation markers, their antibodies, which are a proof that they clinical proof that they have rheumatoid arthritis. And in a span of 3 months, the markers crashed. The quality of life, as per WHO quality of life index, increased with just one input. That's also a nutrition input because it was calming the radio noise in the mind. All all the day and night. We are going on thinking, thinking, thinking all the traumatic thoughts. Why did he say this to me? What happened? How can my future be better? Will I be bedridden? We do this to ourselves. So we have to disassociate and say, this voice is a narrator. It's not me. And start visualizing it going away. So it seems very complex, but the book makes it simple, and it provides the clinical proof for it.
Thanks, Rachna. Yeah, I think it's a book that can really change people's lives. I'm going to wrap up the session, but Rachna, I'd like you to tell readers, there are some people who have gone to doctors and other doctors and they're getting conflicting advice. What do you think? There are some things that people should look out for to understand that, it is an autoimmune condition. I have to do things differently. What are some, like body markers or symptoms or like just exhaustion? Is there, what can they look out for?
Sure. So the first thing is there are a lot of doctors that endorse this book. There are a lot of doctors who have been my patients. At the book launch, we had Dr. Jawahar Panjwani, who is a senior orthopedic surgeon in Hinduja and Leelavati Hospital in Mumbai, and we had an oncologist, Dr. Bharat Bhosle, who were sitting there at the panel and talking about the immune system and the joints which get impacted with a lot of autoimmune conditions. Uh, the the thing to look out for is that your rheumatologist is standing up and saying, I don't have a cure. Respect that, but take the power back. You're surrendering your power to another human being whose expertise is great in helping you manage your symptoms, but they themselves want you to do blood tests every 2 months because they know that there is internal damage that can be caused by the medications. They are aware of it. They are trying to help you with whatever they have. So, surrendering to someone who's another expert but doesn't have a cure is giving your power to that person. I went against the grain and it worked for me. But you work in collaboration. So, for autoimmune warriors, I will just say, even if you are on medication, work with your body as opposed to against it. Even on medication, when you follow the 6 step program, you will feel better. Then your body will reach a stage where it will not need so much medication, and you can work with your doctor to start tapering it off. They don't have any vested interest in giving you the medication. If your reports are better, if you are feeling better, they will naturally taper it off. For people who don't have a good quality of life or yet undiagnosed, because a lot of autoimmune conditions take up to 3 years to get even diagnosed. They are seen as, oh, it's in your head, because 80% are women. They are mostly dismissed, saying, oh, it's in your head, it's anxiety, take a sleeping pill, take an anxiety drug. And some of the case studies are also in the book. um, it's look out for childhood trauma, look out for anxiety that you're carrying, look out for unexplained pains, look out for fatigue even if you've slept for 8 hours. uh, get yourself tested for inflammation. ESR, C-reactive protein. ESR will be high when there is an infection, but if it is high consistently without infection, then it means you have chronic inflammation. And chronic inflammation is a trigger for autoimmune as well as other diseases and cancer. Then there are antibody tests, which are very different to every condition. So, for example, for rheumatoid arthritis, it is anti-CCP antibodies. A generic autoimmune test is ANA. And it is, so there are various tests. I'll not talk about all of them. They're all listed in the book. All I will say is start getting in touch with yourself. We go from sleeping, waking up, not fresh, pushing ourselves through the day, not nurturing ourselves, but doing whatever tasks. You have to do things differently to get a better quality of life. And then By the time we hit the bed, the whole day is a brain fog. Right. So you've got to start being more conscious. When we say mindful living, conscious living, it's not complicated. It's living in the moment and noticing what you are doing with intention. If I'm talking to you and I'm having a cup of green tea, I'm also enjoying the taste of the tea on my tongue and I'm noticing that. That sends the message. The brain then sends the message to the cells of the body to calm down. When you're rushing and hurried, the brain is sending the message of inflammation. So cut that signal.
So pay attention,
Be
learn
aware
how to read your body, and be aware.
and follow the
Thanks.
plan.
And follow the plan. Thanks so much, Rachna. And now over to Ankush and Mihir. Would you like to leave a few notes for readers, people who are watching this? What can they learn from the book and why this is different from any other finance and health? It is a very different book because it uses these two analogies. But what can readers take away and why should they go get this book?
So, no, one common, well, not feedback, but comment that I get is that, oh, this book, I think, is about work-life balance, right? Or it is about abstract things. And I always say it's the exact opposite. So, if you read the book, just after finishing the first chapter, you'll be able to build a plan for yourself, right? And the other chapters will also have a lot of relatable stories. So, we've taken a lot of effort to put in our stories and how we achieved health and wealth, and we are still on our journeys to achieve more. Of Ankush as well as me, we are at different life stages, right? Our financial goals are different, right? Our lifestyles are different. Yet we arrive at the same destination by following a different path. So the book will really allow you the flexibility to create a plan that is good for you. And if you don't want to create it yourself, like Ankush said, you want to work with an advisor, you want to work with a nutritionist, it will enable you to understand your advisor much better. And that enables you to stay on the plan. And eventually that will lead to you achieving the goals. So it's not abstract. So I live, breathe spreadsheets. And while I was writing the book, I had to make sure I don't make it a book about spreadsheets, but I make it a book about actionable ideas. So it is that level of actionable, not abstract at all.
Well, you've done a very good job because I suck at spreadsheets and whatever graphs and sheets were there, I got it.
Uh,
Thanks so much, Mihir. Ankush, would you like to say a few words before we
Yeah,
wrap up?
I think he's pretty much covered everything. There is
Why should people go out and get this book?
also one of the cool feedbacks that we've been getting, which of course, when the book was written for the idea of the book. But what feedback which we've been getting now is people in the field of finance or any kind of formal profession, they would probably be knowing about these elements, but they learned a lot about health, right, along the way and kind of integrated that into their life. People who are in the profession of health or are nutritionists or passionate about it, they learned about the basics of financial literacy. This book does not promise you that you're going to be a millionaire in the next 5 years. There's Instagram reels for that. This is not the book for that. So this book basically shuns things that have been perpetuated to us by social media, which we are exposed to every single day, and kind of tries to bring back sanity to our lives. Without revealing too much about the book, I'll urge you to go and check it out yourself. And Mihir pretty much covered everything else. So I wouldn't want to
yeah,
drag this one and bore
yeah,
the audience.
So, yeah, so it's a really practical, sensible, not a fear-mongering, book that affects everyone because it's the two most important things in everyone's life,
yeah.
right? So yeah, so thanks so much everyone for being here and taking the time and a very happy World Book Day to you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Glad to be here and wish you the same.